Hi friends, I'm going to read a book about a gardener, Mr. McCreely. He planted a vegetable garden and he planted carrots, peas, and lettuce in the garden, but there were three animals who kept coming back to his garden and ate some of his veggies. So let's find out what he did about it and what happened to those animals. Muncha, Muncha, Muncha by Candace Fleming. For years, Mr. McCreely dreamed of planting a garden. He dreamed of getting his hands dirty, of growing yummy vegetables, and of gobbling them all up. That's his house. This looks like his front lawn. But he never once tried it until this spring, said Mr. McCreely. This spring, by golly, I am going to plant a garden. So he hoed, he sowed, and he watched his garden grow. And look who are watching him. Lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes, yum, yum, yummy, said Mr. McCreely. I'll soon fill my tummy with crisp veggies. Here he is. But one night when the sun went down and the moon came up, three hungry bunnies appeared. Tippy, 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 pat. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Look who are eating his lettuces. The next morning when Mr. McCreely saw his gnawed sprouts, he was angry. So he built a small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. There, he declared, no bunny can get into my garden now. That's the wire fence. Look who are watching. And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy 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 pat, spring hurdle dash dash, muncha muncha muncha, yum yum. The next morning when Mr. McCreely saw his nibbled leaves and gnawed sprouts, he was really angry. So he built a tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. He huffed. Those flop ears will never get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. Look, what are they? Somebody's ears. And here he is still building the wooden gate, wooden wall. And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy 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 pat, dig, scrabble, scratch, scratch, spring hurdle dash dash, muncha muncha muncha, yum yum yum. The next morning when Mr. McCreely saw his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was really angry. So he made a deep, wet trench outside the tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. Huh, he snorted. Those pufftails can't get under it. They can't get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. That's the trench. And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy 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 pat, dive, paddle, splash, splash. Oh my goodness, look who is swimming over. Dig, scratch, 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 spring hurdle, dash, dash, muncha, 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 yum, yum, yum. The next morning when Mr. McCreely saw his chomped blossoms, his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was furious. And look at the wall is even bigger and higher than the shed. He himself even has a hard time going into his garden. So he hammered and blocked, sawed and stacked, drilled and filled and trapped and locked, and he built a huge, enormous thing before the deep, wet trench, outside the tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. I have outsmarted those twitched whiskers for sure, he exclaimed. They can't get through it, they can't get under it, and they can't get over it. No bunny, no way, no how. No one can get into my vegetable garden now. And the sun went down and the moon came up, and Tippy, 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 stop. The three hungry bunnies looked and smelled and touched the huge, enormous thing before them. And tippy, 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 pat, the bunnies hopped away. The next morning, when Mr. McGrilly saw his untouched vegetables, he was happy. Look at how happy he is. But he has a hard time to go into the garden. I beat the bunnies. He whooped and did a jiggly wiggly victory dance. Then he climbed over, jumped across, squeezed between, and crawled under until he reached his vegetable garden. Ah, sighed Mr. McGrilly at last, smacking his lips. He picked and pulled lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes, and with his basket overflowing, he reached inside for something yummy. But look who are following him and got into the basket, and who he brings into the garden. And here he is, picking some carrots. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Oh, look at his mouth. He is surprised. He's probably thinking, how did you get into my basket? And at the end, he's sharing it with them. He can't get rid of them, so he shares anyway. I hope you enjoyed the story. Now you can share your favorite part about the story. It can be 1 or 2 words like the bunnies, the trench, or it can be a whole sentence like when the bunnies got into the basket. And also you can imagine if you were one of the bunnies, what would you say to Mr. McGrilly? So write all of those thoughts in the comments. Thank you.